Today we gather at a moment of historic revelation, one that has shaken the world's balance of power and sent waves of shock through the global community. America, along with much of the international order, now stands confronted with the reality that India has long harbored nuclear capabilities beyond what the world previously understood. The revelation of India's secret nuclear power has sent a shockwave across the globe, leaving governments, defense analysts, and citizens alike in a state of astonishment. For decades, the global community believed it had a clear understanding of India's nuclear capabilities, largely framed by official declarations and international monitoring. The sudden exposure of an undisclosed and advanced nuclear program not only challenged these assumptions, but also raised profound questions about the effectiveness of intelligence networks and the transparency of international agreements. America, in particular, has been shaken by the news, given its strategic partnership with India and the deep trust invested in their bilateral relations. The fact that such a significant development could remain hidden for so long has unsettled policymakers in Washington and beyond. The shock is not simply rooted in the existence of nuclear weapons, as India was already recognized as a nuclear state. Instead, it lies in the secrecy surrounding the extent of its advancement. The idea that a nation could successfully conceal a major portion of its nuclear capability from the watchful eyes of the world demonstrates both remarkable technological discipline and an equally remarkable ability to manage information. This revelation undermines the confidence of those who assumed the global security framework was impermeable. If India, a democratic nation with extensive international engagement, could maintain such secrecy, then the possibility of other countries doing the same cannot be dismissed. This thought has unsettled many governments, sparking discussions on how reliable current intelligence sharing mechanisms truly are. For the international community, the news has broader implications beyond the element of surprise. Nuclear power, whether used for defense or energy, carries with it enormous responsibility. The discovery that India has nurtured hidden capabilities alters the balance of power in South Asia, a region already marked by complex rivalries and fragile peace. Pakistan, India's longtime neighbor and rival, is likely to react strongly, while China, another regional power, may view this as a challenge to its own influence. Such shifts inevitably create ripples in global diplomacy, with the United States now forced to reconsider its approach not only toward India, but also toward its other regional alliances. For ordinary citizens around the world, the revelation provokes mixed emotions. On one hand, many admire India's determination and resilience in pursuing its national interests with such discipline. On the other hand, there is fear that secrecy in nuclear matters breeds mistrust and raises the risk of conflict. The shock, therefore, is not just political, it is also psychological, reminding people of the fragile nature of peace and the ever-present shadow of nuclear escalation. In the end, the global shock caused by the exposure of India's secret nuclear power is not merely about weapons hidden underground. It is about the fragility of trust in a world that depends heavily on transparency and accountability. It reminds us that even in an age of satellites, intelligence networks, and advanced surveillance, some truths can remain concealed until their revelation changes everything. The revelation of India's secret nuclear power has shaken long-held assumptions that underpinned global security frameworks and intelligence assessments. For years, the world believed it had a comprehensive understanding of India's nuclear arsenal, largely based on its publicly declared tests, treaties, and visible infrastructure. The sudden disclosure of undisclosed capabilities calls into question the reliability of these beliefs and forces policymakers, strategists, and analysts to confront the uncomfortable truth that much of what was assumed to be accurate may have been incomplete or even misleading. This revelation highlights the possibility that intelligence networks, despite their vast resources and advanced technologies, are not infallible. For the United States in particular, the discovery has been startling because it challenges the assumption that one of the most sophisticated intelligence systems in the world could have missed such a crucial development in the arsenal of a close partner. The assumptions that were broken are not limited to intelligence gathering. They also extend to the broader trust in international safeguards and diplomatic frameworks designed to monitor nuclear activity. The Non-Proliferation Treaty, International Atomic Energy Agency inspections, and other global mechanisms exist precisely to ensure transparency and accountability in nuclear matters. Yet the fact that India managed to expand or conceal a significant portion of its capabilities outside of these channels suggests that the frameworks themselves may not be as comprehensive as the international community once believed. This raises troubling questions if such a development could go unnoticed in a democracy that actively participates in international forums. What might be happening in more closed or authoritarian states where secrecy is easier to maintain? Another assumption challenged by this revelation is the belief that global powers, particularly the United States, have a near monopoly on both knowledge and oversight of nuclear advancements. The discovery of India's hidden capabilities reminds the world that technological progress and strategic planning are not limited to superpowers alone. Smaller nations with determination, scientific expertise, and national will can achieve extraordinary feats even under the radar of dominant intelligence networks. This realization disrupts the narrative of a predictable and controlled global order, replacing it with a picture that is far more uncertain and dynamic. On a strategic level, the assumption that India was entirely transparent with its allies must also be reevaluated. The United States has long viewed India as a trusted partner in balancing regional power, especially against rivals like China, yet the revelation of concealed nuclear strength suggests that even strong partnerships are governed by national interest above all else. Trust, while important, cannot override the imperative of self-reliance that drives nations to secure their own survival, sometimes in ways that surprise even their closest allies. The collapse of these assumptions has far-reaching consequences. It forces the world to re-examine not only how it gathers intelligence, but also how it interprets trust, partnership, and transparency in international relations. Ultimately, the exposure of India's secret nuclear power is not just a revelation of technology, it is a revelation of the limits of human certainty in a complex and ever-changing global order. India's determination and sovereignty stand at the heart of the revelation about its secret nuclear power. For decades, India has been a nation deeply conscious of its identity, independence, and global position, born out of a struggle for freedom from colonial rule. India's leadership has consistently emphasized self-reliance and the protection of national sovereignty. The existence of an undisclosed nuclear capability, far from being a reckless pursuit, is a reflection of the country's deep commitment to ensuring that its sovereignty is never compromised by external powers. This determination is not just about weapons or military strategy, it is about securing an enduring space for India in a world where power dynamics are often dictated by nuclear capability. India's journey toward nuclear power has always been marked by resilience in the face of obstacles. From the time of its first nuclear test in 1974, India made it clear that it sought to carve its own path in global politics, resisting pressure from major powers and international regimes. By nurturing a hidden aspect of its nuclear program, India demonstrated a quiet but powerful resolve to safeguard itself against uncertainty in its neighborhood and beyond. With regional rivals like Pakistan pursuing their own nuclear capabilities and China's growing military might, India's leadership recognized that strength in secrecy could act as a strategic shield, ensuring that the nation's sovereignty was not subject to external coercion or intimidation. This determination also stems from India's historical experience of vulnerability. Having faced invasions, colonial exploitation, and regional conflicts, India's policymakers have long believed that true sovereignty is incomplete without the means to defend it. Nuclear power in this context represents more than a deterrent. It is a symbol of independence and assurance that no external actor can dictate terms to the Indian state. The decision to keep part of its nuclear capabilities secret can thus be interpreted as a statement of sovereignty. India alone will decide what to reveal, when to reveal it, and how to wield its strength. Furthermore, India's pursuit of this path reflects a broader philosophy of determination rooted in national pride and cultural identity. India's scientists and strategists work tirelessly, often in isolation from global cooperation, to build capabilities that would command respect on the world stage. Their success, now revealed, is a testament to a nation that refuses to be underestimated. This revelation underscores that India's sovereignty is not just about defending its borders, but also about asserting its rightful place in the hierarchy of global powers. The exposure of this hidden strength has shocked the world, but within India it will likely be seen as validation of decades of effort, sacrifice, and determination. For India, sovereignty has never been negotiable, and its secret nuclear program is a clear reflection of that philosophy. The message to the world is unmistakable. India will chart its own course, guard its independence at all costs, and pursue the strength necessary to ensure its destiny remains firmly in its own hands. The revelation of India's secret nuclear power inevitably carries profound implications for U.S.-India relations, a partnership that has grown steadily over the past 2 decades. The United States has invested significant diplomatic energy in cultivating India as a strategic ally in South Asia, viewing it as a counterbalance to China's growing influence and as a partner in ensuring stability in the Indo-Pacific region. Yet the disclosure of hidden nuclear capabilities places this relationship under a new lens, raising questions about trust, transparency, and long-term cooperation. While it does not necessarily undermine the foundations of the partnership, it does compel both nations to reassess how they engage with one another in matters of security and strategy. For the United States, the shock lies not just in the existence of the undisclosed arsenal, but in the fact that such a significant development escaped its intelligence apparatus. Washington prides itself on its ability to monitor global nuclear activities, and India has historically been an open partner in many areas of defense and technology sharing. The discovery that New Delhi kept certain nuclear advancements concealed may be perceived as a breach of confidence, forcing American policymakers to reconsider how much information India shares in strategic dialogues. This does not mean that relations will sour overnight, but it does plant a seed of doubt that may affect future negotiations on defense cooperation, arms agreements, and nuclear transparency. From India's perspective, however, the secrecy underscores a long-standing principle: sovereignty and national security interests must always come before partnership. India has consistently sought to engage with the United States on its own terms, welcoming collaboration but refusing to be subordinate to American expectations. The decision to maintain hidden capabilities reflects this independence. Rather than viewing the U.S. as a guarantor of security, India has demonstrated that it will safeguard its sovereignty by preparing for worst-case scenarios, even if it means keeping certain cards close to its chest. This approach may complicate the relationship, but it also signals to Washington that India is not a dependent ally but a sovereign power demanding respect on equal footing. The implications also extend to regional geopolitics. The U.S. has often leaned on India as a stabilizing force in South Asia, particularly in relation to Pakistan. The revelation of additional nuclear strength could escalate tensions in the region, and Washington will need to manage these dynamics carefully. Balancing its commitment to India with its desire to prevent a nuclear arms race in South Asia will be a delicate task. Moreover, the U.S. must consider how China, already wary of U.S.-India cooperation, interprets this revelation. If Beijing views India's secret capabilities as a threat, it may push China closer to Pakistan, complicating America's strategic calculus even further. At the same time, this revelation provides an opportunity for the U.S. and India to redefine their partnership. America could choose to see India's hidden strength not as a betrayal but as evidence of its capability and determination to act as a true global power. If handled diplomatically, this moment could pave the way for deeper, more honest dialogue about security cooperation, regional stability, and shared interests. Ultimately, the implications of this revelation will depend on how both nations respond, whether with suspicion and distance, or with maturity and renewed commitment to building a relationship grounded in mutual respect and strategic necessity. The revelation of India's secret nuclear power underscores more than ever the urgent need for diplomacy in international affairs. Nuclear capability, while a marker of strength and sovereignty, carries with it immense responsibility, not only for the nation that possesses it, but for the world at large. History has shown that the existence of nuclear weapons creates an atmosphere of suspicion, fear, and rivalry unless balanced by dialogue, transparency, and agreements that establish clear boundaries. In this context, America's shock at India's hidden capabilities should not give way to hostility or mistrust, but rather serve as a moment to embrace diplomacy as the only viable path toward peace and stability. Diplomacy becomes vital because it creates space for understanding intentions rather than assuming them. India's choice to keep part of its nuclear strength secret may have been born from regional insecurity and a determination to protect its sovereignty, but without dialogue, such actions can easily be misinterpreted by other nations as acts of aggression or defiance. By engaging in open communication, the United States and India can prevent unnecessary escalation and ensure that their partnership evolves rather than deteriorates in the aftermath of this revelation. Effective diplomacy can transform what might appear as a breach of trust into an opportunity for stronger, more transparent cooperation. The call for diplomacy extends beyond bilateral relations. The global community, particularly neighboring countries like Pakistan and regional powers such as China, will be watching closely to see how America responds. A reaction rooted in suspicion or coercion could spark an arms race in South Asia, worsening tensions in one of the world's most fragile regions. Diplomacy, by contrast, can calm anxieties and promote a framework where nuclear capabilities are acknowledged but managed responsibly. America, as a global leader, has the chance to model restraint and wisdom, choosing to engage India constructively rather than turning this moment into a source of division. At the same time, diplomacy is not simply about calming fears. It is about building long-term structures of trust. The exposure of India's hidden arsenal reveals the limits of current international mechanisms for monitoring nuclear developments. Rather than condemning or isolating India, the international community can use this moment to re-examine and strengthen global agreements on nuclear transparency. A renewed commitment to dialogue may lead to frameworks that respect national sovereignty while also ensuring collective security. In this sense, diplomacy is not only a response to the present crisis, but also a tool for shaping a more stable future. The call for diplomacy reminds us that peace is fragile and cannot be maintained by force alone. Nuclear weapons, no matter who possesses them, are instruments of deterrence, not solutions to conflict. Dialogue, cooperation, and mutual respect are the true foundations of global stability. If America and India, despite the shock of this revelation, choose to engage in honest and respectful diplomacy, they can turn a moment of potential division into a stepping stone towards stronger partnership and lasting peace. The revelation of India's secret nuclear power may well be remembered as a turning point for global peace, a moment that forces the world to confront uncomfortable truths while offering a chance to reshape the future of international relations. For decades, nuclear weapons have been both a source of deterrence and a shadow of fear, creating a fragile balance where mistrust often outweighs dialogue. The exposure of India's hidden capabilities disrupts this balance, but it also presents an opportunity to recognize that peace cannot be sustained through secrecy, suspicion, or unchecked competition, but must instead be built on honesty, cooperation, and collective responsibility. This moment is a turning point because it highlights the limitations of the existing global security order. Despite the presence of institutions, treaties, and intelligence networks designed to maintain transparency, India managed to maintain undisclosed advancements. The fact that this could occur in one of the world's largest democracies, closely engaged with global powers, should serve as a wake-up call. If peace is to endure, the world must reimagine its approach to nuclear diplomacy, shifting from outdated frameworks toward mechanisms that respect sovereignty while ensuring accountability. This revelation could push nations to reconsider the effectiveness of the Non-Proliferation Treaty, to modernize inspection regimes, and to create new channels for dialogue that reflect the realities of the 21st century. At the same time, this turning point reminds us that peace cannot be taken for granted. The shock experienced by America and its allies demonstrates how fragile the sense of global security truly is. One revelation, one hidden program, one miscalculation could be enough to trigger instability on a massive scale, yet the very fragility of peace can serve as motivation to protect it more vigorously. Rather than responding with fear, nations now have the chance to reaffirm their commitment to dialogue, transparency, and shared security. The path to global peace may be uncertain, but moments of disruption often provide the clarity needed to act decisively. The significance of this revelation also lies in its potential to reshape relationships between nations. For the United States and India, it challenges both sides to move beyond surface-level trust and toward deeper, more genuine dialogue about security and sovereignty. For regional actors like Pakistan and China, it raises difficult questions about how to maintain balance without escalating conflict. If all parties recognize this moment as a shared responsibility rather than a provocation, it could open the door to a more cooperative and stable regional order, one where the pursuit of peace outweighs the temptation of rivalry. Most importantly, the turning point for global peace lies in the recognition that humanity's survival is tied to how nations handle the destructive power they possess. Nuclear weapons have the capacity to end civilization, yet they also serve as a reminder of our shared vulnerability. The exposure of India's hidden strength is not only a revelation of power, but also a reminder of responsibility. If the world chooses to treat this as a catalyst for dialogue and reform, it could become a defining moment in the pursuit of lasting peace. But if ignored or mishandled, it could mark the beginning of deeper divisions and greater risks. The choice lies in how the world responds, and that choice will define the future of global peace.